Hallo zusammen, I'm your vlog Dave, and as you can see, well, I'm not alone today. I'm here with Feli. It's not Feli, it's Feli.
Oder Feli and Feli.
Yeah, Feli, yeah. There are many pronunciations of that, I guess, which could be difficult for Americans, but not so much for Germans because, well, it's a German girl in America. And that's her channel name as well. And, well, I'm interviewing her today, talking a bit about her experiences in America and what is life like there compared to Germany and those kinds of things. So, yeah. Hi, Feli. How are you doing?
Hi. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, same. Very good, actually. I heard the weather is a pretty, well, not so good, let me put it this way today, in your place.
Yeah, it's just a little messy. Cincinnati is known for very quick weather changes. So it was just thundering 15 minutes ago, and now there's blue sky and sun. So
okay.
I don't know what to expect today.
Cincinnati, yeah, actually, I mean, I've heard of that town before, but I couldn't name someone from there, to be honest, like a popular like VIP or
well, I think Doris Day was actually from Cincinnati. For example, or Walk the Moon, the band. They're from Cincinnati. Shut Up and Dance. I don't know if you know that
I will,
song,
yeah.
but Shut Up and Dance with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, besides that, I can't really think of anyone in the moment, but I'm sure there's a lot of other people that are from Cincinnati that you would know.
Okay. So you've been in Cincinnati for quite a while now, right?
Yeah, it's been like 3.5 years off and on. So I came here for an exchange semester first, and then I went back home for like another 6 months, and then I came back here. So I didn't stay here permanently in the very beginning. It was more like a process. But yeah, first time I actually moved here was in August 2016.
And in 2018, you actually started your channel, right?
Yes, yep.
Okay. So how did that come about, like Cincinnati, because of, I guess, studying there, that was sort of predestined in a way to go there and not somewhere else? Was that an easy choice for you to choose Cincinnati?
Yeah, I didn't really have much of a choice. So first of all, I had connections to Cincinnati before that because Munich and Cincinnati are sister cities. And I'm actually from Munich, born and raised. And so I was in Cincinnati in 2010 for the first time. That was my first time in the US too. And this was like a high school exchange between the city of Cincinnati and the city of Munich. So like different students from different high schools in Munich and from different high schools in Cincinnati did like a 2-week high school exchange. So I came to Cincinnati for 2 weeks and lived with a family, and then they came to Munich for 2 weeks. So I already had some connections to Cincinnati, and then I studied communications in Munich, and I just wanted to do an exchange semester before I graduated. This was actually like after I submitted my bachelor thesis. So this was my 7th semester that I did the exchange semester. And I really wanted to go to the US. And the partner programs that my department had, the communications department, they only had 2 programs in the US. And one of them would have been in DC, where I would have had to pay half of the tuition. And usually for exchange programs, you don't have to pay any tuition. And so Cincinnati was the other one, like the regular one. So yeah, I didn't have much of a choice, but I was actually glad that that option existed because I really liked Cincinnati when I was here for the first time. So I was glad to come back.
All right, yeah. Because I imagine, like, when I think of like Germans that I know that are somewhat like interested in America, and of course they know like California, that would be in German, and Florida, and many other states, but Ohio doesn't really come to mind at first, I don't think, which...
Well, Ohio was very German, actually. So is Milwaukee and a few other places in the Midwest. This is where like most of the German settlers or like German immigrants settled when they first came here in the 19th century. But yeah, of course, like you're right. It's not one of the most known cities. Like I had been to the US as a tourist quite a lot. So I had been to the East Coast, to the West Coast, to Chicago, to other places. And I didn't really feel like going to like New York to study. Like that's a great city, but I actually wanted to experience that more, like that campus life, that college lifestyle. And that was perfect here.
I see. Yeah. What is the population like in Cincinnati? Like how many people
Like how
live
many?
there? Mhm.
Okay, so I'm very bad with numbers, and like as you probably know, American cities are structured a little differently than German cities. So it really depends on what you consider to be Cincinnati, like the greater Cincinnati area or the inner city. But I think I want to say it's something like 400,000, so it's not that much.
Okay.
But honestly, this may be a wrong number. Let me look it up very quick.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's true. Maybe you can confirm that. I think in movies I actually saw like a post or like a sign that is pretty much the entrance sign to the city, and it also says the population. Like for instance,
really?
I saw that in, where was it actually? Like some movie, I think, where they showed like, okay, town name, and below that it was like population 940, like a very little village therefore. But
so well, here it says Cincinnati is 300,000, so I was just a
pretty
little bit
close.
off. But it also kind of like really, as I said, depends on what you count, because there's so many suburbs. The sign thing, I don't think I've ever seen that for Cincinnati or for any other city, but I just may not remember it, or maybe I just didn't pay attention well enough. Not sure.
All right. So, a question that has always fascinated me in a way, I mean, I guess it's the same in Bavaria, because in Germany, I have to say that real quick for everyone who's not from here, we have like 16 German states, like Germany is a federal state, and pretty much each state can handle school and many other things differently. But I think what they have in common, what they share, is that in German schools you learn British English and not American English, right? I guess it's the same in Bavaria. So what was that like for you when you actually first went to the US, and I guess you were like raised with British English in the first place? Was it hard to really like adopt to the American way of speaking English, or not at all?
That's an interesting question, because I feel like, yes, we do learn British English in school, but I personally never had a native English speaker as a teacher. All my English teachers were always Germans. Of course, like they still do the British pronunciation, but they don't necessarily have this heavy British accent. And I would say I wouldn't say that I was raised with British English, because pop culture in Germany is really all about American English, and I was raised with like all these like American bands and American English music, and I started watching American shows in English when I was like 17 or something. Yeah, so I started watching shows like How I Met Your Mother in English, because the German version would always take like another year to be dubbed, and then I couldn't wait for it to be released, so I would start watching it in English. So I didn't really have too many problems. I guess there's like some words that you never really use in everyday language that I would be in the US and I never really used that word, and then when I used it for the first time, I then realized that this is actually British English and not American English. But like the typical everyday words, I already used the American English ones, I would say.
Okay.
Before I came here.
So when you're watching, for instance, Netflix shows in the US right now, do you watch them in English or German?
In English.
In English, okay. So
Yeah.
you don't actually watch anything in German anymore.
I mean, no, if I watch a German show, I'll watch it in German. But I would never watch an American show dubbed in German.
Yeah, I can see why, because honestly, I mean, not mocking, of course, Americans and stuff, and American voice acting and those kinds of things, but German voice acting is really big here, and I'd say it's of quite a high quality as well. So when you have, for instance, a show that I really like with German dubbing would be Breaking Bad, which has like really phenomenal German dubbing, I think. And sometimes, even though that might sound weird, for instance, in the case of Bruce Willis, I really prefer his German dubbing over his real voice, which it's a strange thing to say, but like his German voice, Manfred Lehmann, just so much more character to it. It's definitely true. I mean, there are still also, like, for instance, really cool productions from Germany. I don't know if you've seen Dark.
Yeah, I love Dark.
Dark is awesome.
Yeah.
Like the.
So like I would never watch that in English, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even sure if there's a dubbed version, but
I think so. I think there is. Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously, like a German show I'll watch in German, but an American show I'll watch in English.
When you first went to America, was there like, for instance, a preconception you had before going there, what life would be like there, and then you realized, okay, it's not like that at all? Like, it's totally different from what I expected or thought it would be like?
Honestly, it was the opposite. I was like, oh, it's probably not gonna be like I expected, and then it was exactly like in the movies. Because when I first moved here, I was here for college, and like I totally participated in the whole college lifestyle with like football and frat parties, and a lot of beer pong and stuff like that. And it was exactly like in the movies, and it still is, of course. I'm just that's not my whole life anymore now, but. Obviously, like there's a few things that aren't as the cliches, but I think because I had been here before, I had been here several times, I had lived with an American family when I came here for the first time, I already knew that some of the cliches weren't 100% true, like the whole superficiality thing, that all Americans are dumb, those kind of things, that everyone's fat. But I mean, a lot of those things still are a little true, though. Like the thing that Americans drive everywhere, that is 100% true. Just the other day, a friend, like I have mostly American friends here, and my American friend asked me if we could drive to the store, and the store is literally a 2-minute walk from my place. I was like, are you serious? We're gonna take the car? This is the most American thing I've ever done. I'd never, like, it's not even a store, it's just a little convenience store, just like a gas station. I had never driven there, and it wasn't even raining or anything, but we drove there. Then we drove back.
I guess it's like, okay, I have a car, so I can use it, that kind of mentality. Yeah. But then again, I mean, I do see why people would do that out of like convenience and stuff. But in Germany, I also would agree that is really different. But talking about convenience in stores, for instance, I don't know what that is like in the US. I've never been to the US yet. I would really like to go there at some point, of course, in the future. From what I've heard, maybe you can confirm on that. Like in Germany, when you go into a bakery, for instance, you can't pay like virtually electronically via like what is it, like a cash card, sort of. Yeah. But I think that's different in the US, right? Because you can pretty much pay like that anywhere where you go.
Yeah, most people don't even carry cash on them ever. So like, for example, even when you go out to the bars at night or something like that, people usually don't carry a wallet with them. They just like have their phone, and then either they have their card in the back of their phone or they have their card in their pocket or something. But you don't need cash anywhere. I feel like the only place I've ever needed cash was like a state fair, so kind of like a carnival setup, like Oktoberfest. So for those things, sometimes if you go to a booth, you won't be able to pay with your card. But even for those things, like even like flea markets or street festivals where people have tables set up, in a lot of cases they have this little I think it's called Square is the company, so it's like a little credit card reader that you can plug into a smartphone, and so most people use that.
Okay.
And then customers can still pay with their card, even though it's not even an actual physical store. So yes, that is a big difference.
So you don't really miss it to have like cash?
No, I don't.
That way, yeah. I mean, sometimes it's also really annoying because in Germany, we really like to use coins instead of like, for instance, in the US, you have like $1 bank bills like notes. Whereas you don't have that in Germany. You have like €1 coin, that is.
And a €2 coin,
And €2 and 50 cents and 20 cents and 10 cents and 5 and 2 and 1 and sometimes your wallet is like really heavy and it's sort of annoying.
Especially as a woman, like we already have bigger wallets usually. I don't miss that at all because mine is never heavy now. The only coins I ever need is there are Aldis in the US. And I usually go to Aldi here because it's a lot cheaper than the normal grocery store. And that's the only place where you need coins for your shopping cart. So that's the only reason I have a few coins, quarters in this case, but I keep them in my car because I don't need them for any other thing. Sometimes you need them for parking meters, actually. So there is another thing, which is so when you like have to pay to park. Sometimes you need it for those things, but most of them, at least in Cincinnati, have been digitalized, so you can pay with your phone.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, very modern. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it will also be like that in Germany in a few years or from now. I could see fit.
Yeah.
But right now, that isn't really the case. It's getting more and more. But yeah. Talking about Aldi, that is a really interesting topic because as far as I can tell from my viewers, I think I've actually mentioned them in a previous video, like a couple of years ago. Many of them actually didn't know that Aldi was is a German company.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that here, yeah.
Yeah. So, of course, you also know Aldi from Germany and Munich. Is there a big difference in what the store looks like or how it's actually structured and how Americans actually shop as well?
Yeah, a little, I would say. So the store looks more or less the same. So it's just like a big hall, and then the products are in their boxes, so it's kind of like in Germany where it doesn't like look extremely nice, but the thing is, in the US every store is structured differently. In German, all these are structured the same, so you always know where things are, right? I think.
Yeah, definitely.
From what I remember, at least. And that it's not the case here. Not at all. Like every Aldi, even in the same city, is structured differently. So the whole efficiency point is kind of that gets lost. And I think people, I mean, you still have this thing that you like walk through the store one time, basically, like this whole concept. And people do that, I guess, but they still take their time a little bit more just because Americans in general are a little more laid back and they need their personal space. So I would say if you walk into an American Aldi, it's just a lot more laid back and slower until you get to the checkout. The checkout is just as quick as in Germany, but nobody packs their groceries right away. So like they just throw it into your cart, which they do in Germany too. But when I still lived in Germany, I would always organize all my stuff before. So like when I put it on there, I would already organize it in a way that I could pack it right away.
Yeah.
So I would always try to not have it thrown into the cart and then pack it on the side. I would always try to pack it right away. And nobody does. Yeah, nobody does that in the US because they're totally overwhelmed with the speed.
Interesting. That is really interesting.
Yeah, because usually the grocery stores are really slow at the checkout, which is something that I hate. Like, it's worse than Rewe and Edeka in Germany, which I think is slow already. But the normal grocery stores here, they take their time. So people aren't used to the speed.
I think there are also like Lidl stores in the US,
Yeah,
right?
I haven't been to a Lidl. There is no Lidl around me, so haven't seen that, yeah.
Huh, okay.
Yeah, and there's also Trader Joe's, which is, so the Aldi that I go to here, that's connected to Aldi Süd in Germany, and then Aldi Nord has a store called Trader Joe's, which belongs to them, but it's completely different though. That doesn't look anything like Aldi. It just belongs to them.
Heard about that, yeah, yeah.
They're too slow for me with the checkout, but just life in general, I definitely enjoy it. There is certain things like in every culture that if you live there for a longer period of time, you're not going to like it. But there's things that I don't like about Germany either. I would say a few of the things here is, I guess it's kind of related to the laid back attitude, but it's more connected to being reliable. So Americans in a lot of cases don't stick to their word and they're not always 100% reliable, and they like to change plans last minute or just bail completely, which means that they're not going to even call you or text you anymore and just not get, like, they're just going to text you the next day and be like, oh, sorry, I ended up being busy, even though you kind of had plans with them. So that's something that still annoys me sometimes to this day, even though like I know this is a thing now and I do it too sometimes. But it can be tricky to figure out when a person says something, it can be tricky to figure out whether they actually mean it this time or whether this is just something they're saying because they're trying to be friendly and polite and they're going to change their mind last minute.
And something that isn't really a big thing in Germany, as far as I can tell, like having small talk.
Yeah.
Is like a way bigger thing in the US, right?
Oh, yeah. It's so big, yeah. I mean, that's like before you go abroad, usually you have some kind of intercultural training. So that's always the number one thing, or at least if you go with your company or with your university. Companies and universities usually offer that. So that's usually the number one thing that you're taught is the small talk. Like that's different, that you need to be able to understand it, that if someone asks you, how are you? It doesn't mean that they're interested in how you're actually doing, those kind of things. So that definitely takes some practice in the beginning to get used to. But I actually started really appreciating that though. Like I was a typical German in the beginning and I thought it was unnecessary and a waste of time. But yeah, I think like in the first few months of living here, I definitely started appreciating it. And I kind of like miss it whenever I'm in Germany now.
Yeah, sometimes like from a German's perspective, it's really like, yeah, strange to me sometimes whenever I see someone saying like, okay, how are you doing? And the other person replies, oh, thanks. Like, it doesn't really say how they are doing. It's just like, oh, thanks for asking me that, right? But
well, I'm not sure if you should say thanks, actually. But just be like, you can either reply with just hi back. So how are you? Hi, what's up? Or you can just say good, or you can like, good, how are you? But then you're not going to get a response back most of the time. At least like depends on the situation. But if this is like something that both people are still moving, like if it's like at the checkout in the grocery store or you're walking past each other, then Americans won't even stop walking. They'll just keep walking. They'll be like, hey, how are you? And just keep walking. And you can be like, I'm good, how are you? And you're not even get an answer back.
Yeah, it was really interesting when I actually filmed like a similar video with my American YouTube friend Adam Lusk from the FBE React channel. He also like, of course, said something like, oh, how are you doing? What's up? And being the German that I am, of course, oh yeah, well, today I did this, and well, I'm doing pretty good. And then I thought, okay, maybe he didn't really actually wanted to know that, not in the sense of being impolite, of course, or not interested, but it was just small talk, like the inception of, a talk, basically, conversation. But I guess it's just different for Germans for the most part. Yeah, what was like the biggest surprise for you that you experienced living in the US so far? Like both maybe in a positive and in a negative way compared to your life in Germany. Might be a strange question, but like something that you did not...
I hadn't thought about this. Well, I guess surprise always sounds like something that's like happens in one situation. I guess this is more like a broader thing, but a positive surprise was definitely how easy it was to make friends here.
Okay.
And still is. It's just very easy to make friends. People just include you. They're super happy to include you into their friends groups. They invite you to everything. And like I do the same thing with people now too. And I think it kind of... It's a little sad that we don't do that in Germany. German friend groups are always a little more closed up. And for Americans coming to Germany, they don't understand why nobody wants to invite them. So that was definitely a positive surprise. A negative one, well, I guess when I figured out the whole bailing thing and not being reliable thing that I already mentioned. Yeah, I guess I was just surprised that this is normal here. In the beginning, I just thought, wait, that person was super rude to me. Like, we said we were going to do something tonight, and, like, we didn't have any concrete plans yet. So we hadn't agreed on a time or a place or anything. But then I would text them, and I would not hear from them until, like, the next day or very late at night or something like that. And in the beginning, every time someone did that to me, I would just think that that's super rude. And then over time, I realized, no, that's just normal. It's not just an American thing. It's also a generational thing. It's like both. But yeah, that happens a lot. Or if people say, let's get brunch on Sunday. And then like neither of you follows up on it. And you're just never getting brunch. It was just, okay, whatever. And in Germany, that wouldn't really happen. Like if you say, let's get brunch on Sunday, you're either gonna get brunch or you're at least gonna cancel or something. Or time-wise, too. Like, someone will say, I'm going to be there in an hour, and then they're here in 2 hours or in 3 hours.
Wouldn't happen to a German. Punctual.
No.
All the time.
I'm not even the most punctual German. I'm always like 10 minutes late, but here people are like an hour late, so
Yeah.
that was also a negative surprise, I guess. But I can't really think of a situation where I was really, in the moment and I was super surprised or shocked or anything like that.
Something that I've always wondered about is when you first went to the US and people didn't know yet that you're like German and from Germany. Would they even did they have a conception, an idea of where you would be from nonetheless? Like from the way you speak and like articulate and verbalize, could they still tell, okay, you're from Germany or you're German?
Yeah, I mean, in the very beginning, for sure. Now, not always. Like some people know that my accent is German. Some people don't even hear it in the beginning. Some people think, oh, she has an accent, but I don't know where it's from. But I mean, yeah, in the beginning, people, I think, definitely knew, especially when I first came here when I was 16, especially then.
Did you notice like a huge improvement in your speaking, especially from the first time you were there, like right on? Or did it take some time to really improve and really adopt to the way of speaking there?
No, I think it was pretty quick for me. Like I adopt very quickly with language in general. Like I'm from Munich and I lived in Hamburg for 3 months. And I think after like 2 weeks of living in Hamburg, I sounded like them. Which like I don't have a dialect when I speak German, but there's just little words that we say and pronounce a little bit differently in the South. And so I think it was the same when I came to the US. Like after just a few weeks, I totally started adapting very quickly. And I think it was like a quick adaptation in the beginning, and then it kind of slowed down because then like over time there isn't as much room for improvement anymore. And I guess I kind of like reached my limits. Like I can still improve myself, but I never like tried to like work on my English skills or work on my accent, which I probably need to do at this point because I think my English hasn't really improved in the past 2 years or something. I mean, it probably always does just a little bit, but in the beginning it improved really quickly. Yeah, and now I think I would have to actually actively sit down and practice a few things.
Now to the question that I basically, teased before we actually began the interview. Sometimes it's really strange. I mean, of course, I'm a native German, like my mother tongue is German, of course, but I also really speak English pretty much on a daily basis nowadays, or like write in English, reply to comments on YouTube and stuff. So there's always English going on in my mind pretty much each day.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like maybe increasingly often as well, when I want to say something in German and not necessarily to, like for instance, to an acquaintance or like a friend, sometimes I can't help but really only have the English term, like the English word for that, what I wanted to say in mind. And I can't come up with the German term for, I don't know, the like of God. It just doesn't work. It just isn't there. Did you notice something similar, like the other way around?
Yeah, all the time. Yes, absolutely. I think everyone who speaks two languages has that. I think I noticed it the most when I got my master's here in German studies. So like the German studies department was half German natives and half Americans who obviously spoke German. And a lot of us had that problem in both ways. Like the Americans would sit in class or like write a paper and they would like go to the dictionary and look up a German word to retranslate it into English. And whenever I wrote papers during that master's, that happened to me all the time because some papers were in English, which sometimes that was easier for me. And then like the papers that were in German, I totally knew what I wanted to say, but then I was like, wait, there's like this one word that I want to use. And I'm not sure if this even exists in German, but this is like an English word, or even with easier words too, just like a simple word. I can only think of it in English. And then you sit there and you have your dictionary website open and you, instead of like looking up a word in English, you look up a word in German, which makes you feel really dumb and sad.
Oh, well.
No, like I definitely always felt weird about doing that.
Yeah. I mean, there are also many details, I think, that you could get really wrong way, like really easily. For instance, using dots and commas in like numbers. For instance, I think it's exactly the other way around in English as opposed to German, where you actually have like when you have 3,000, you would actually write like 3 dot and then 3 O's in German, whereas in English you would use a comma, right?
Yeah.
So, and those kinds of things, also like something that I've always wondered about why that is. When you want to say like die Milliarde in German, it's the billion in English.
Yeah, I actually made a video about that and people tried to explain it to me. Apparently there's some mathematic explanation for it, but I couldn't really follow. So like if you go to that video and go to the comments, there's going to be a lot of explanations. I didn't really understand, so I can't tell you the explanation, but apparently there is one.
So what is it like regarding, for instance, temperatures, like the Fahrenheit system? Of course, it's very different to Celsius.
Yeah, it's
I
very
think
different.
0 degrees Celsius equals like 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So how easy was it to adopt to that at all?
I feel like I still haven't fully adopted to this. So on my phone, I have 2 weather apps. One of them is in Celsius, one of them is in Fahrenheit. The only like, I kind of know, I have a broad idea of what Fahrenheit means. So like most houses in the US have AC. So we have like Klimaanlage in the house. And so we have a central dial where you set the temperature. And that's always in Fahrenheit, of course. So like I know that I want my temperature to be at like 69, 70, something like that. I know that when the temperature outside is in the 80s or up to the 90s, even, that's extremely hot. That's like around 30 degrees Celsius. And I know obviously when it goes down to like 40, 30, it gets really cold. So I have a broad idea about the concept, but I don't really use Fahrenheit in my head. I still use Celsius in my head.
Can you actually go below 0 in Fahrenheit?
Below 0 Fahrenheit or 0 Celsius?
Fahrenheit.
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Because I've always thought about like when you have like minus 10 degrees Celsius, could you actually express that in Fahrenheit like properly? But I guess,
so that would still probably, I'm not sure if I'm mistaken, but that would still be over 0 in Fahrenheit, because 0 Celsius is 32 in Fahrenheit. So everything that's below 32 is obviously minus in Celsius. But I've even experienced temperatures that were minus in Fahrenheit, which means that was extremely cold.
Once you will come back to Germany at some point, is there something from the American lifestyle and culture that you would like really, really, really like to take over to Germany because you think it's better in America?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the customer service, for
Okay.
sure. Yes, every time I'm back in Germany, I have another bad experience at a restaurant or something like that. I mean, not all of them are bad, but a lot of them are bad. And they're not trying to go out of their way to help you. They give you the feeling of you're bothering them. Like, not even at restaurants, also if you like call a hotline or just at a store or something, you need help, a lot of people make you feel like you're bothering them when it shouldn't be that way at all. You're the customer, it's their job. And if they're not nice, they should be fired, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing. And also the other thing is definitely the whole friendliness and approaching other people thing, and the whole like inviting others and just be open to make new friends, where I feel like a lot of Germans just like to stick with their group of people. And if there's someone new at work or something like that, it's not easy for them to just be like, hey, you can come hang out with us on Sunday. We have plans to go to the park or something. Just join us. Germans don't do that a whole lot.
Yeah.
And I think it would be cool if we did that.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I totally agree, actually. Some other question that popped up in my mind right now, because of like the different linguistic concepts of you versus du and sie in German, like a formal and informal form of address. Do you think differently about sie, like siezen in Germany, now that you've been into the US for such a long time, actually? Do you think about like, or would you say that siezen is something that could be neglected in Germany in that sense, and just having like one form of address in a way for everyone?
I think that's an interesting question, but language is always so closely related to and connected to culture. And I feel like in German culture, that, I mean, I want to say that would be difficult to do, but at the same time, I'm not 100% sure, because I feel like in our generation, so like younger people, don't use the Z as much anymore anyway, so maybe it's going to die out eventually anyway without us doing anything, because I probably, if I saw you in the street, I probably wouldn't use the Z on you just because you're not significantly older than me. Like I would...
Yeah.
And I think back in the day, though, like back in the 50s, people always used the Z with each other, even if they were the same age. So I think it may be neglected automatically at some point. I don't know.
And also within families, like for instance, children would approach and address their parents by using Z.
Right, yeah. I mean, that was a long time ago, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's always strange also when I meet someone my age or like our age, and of course, out of politeness, I use Z if I don't know them. But it's always a bit
weird.
Like, it feels strange. It really feels strange. I don't know if that also has to do, I guess it might have as well, to do with like Americanization, or if that makes sense, of the world.
Maybe.
Because in a way, of course, that's happening. I mean, in the German language, we use many Anglicisms, and increasingly more also with like the digital age and like smartphone, handy. Sometimes it's even really ridiculous because we use English terms that English speakers don't use. For instance, das Handy.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, there is handy in English, but it doesn't mean the same thing, or like a handyman. So sometimes this language is really strange sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think nowadays we wouldn't be able to just get rid of the Z, because especially with the older generations, it's just so established to have this differentiation between being close and not being that close. And you don't really have that in other cultures, but in Germany we do. So there would be a big thing that would get lost if we got rid of the Z, I think.
Okay, so I think that should be it for now.
Okay.
Thank you so very much for taking the time once again, Feli.
Thanks for reaching out to me.
Yeah, that was a pleasure. I hope the questions weren't too strange, but I tried to come up with a few like interesting ones. Let me put it this way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'm gonna think about a surprise moment that I had later on today, and I couldn't come up with it now, but.
If you want to, maybe at some later date, we could actually like film a continuation of this, a part 2.
Sure.
If you want to. Feel invited, of course.
Thank you.
And maybe one last question that also just popped up in my mind, might also be maybe the strangest one, but I'm gonna ask it nonetheless. When you dream, do you dream in English or in German?
This is not a strange question at all. I get this all the time, and I'm like, I feel so sorry that I don't have a good answer for this, because I feel like I'm one of the only people that doesn't know. I don't know. I don't even know which language I think in. I feel like I have a brain that doesn't really work with words all too much. I think and dream more in concepts and and statements, but yeah, I'm not 100% sure. So like, I would assume that if there is language in my dreams, then I'm sure there's a lot of English nowadays in them. But even if I remember my dreams, I never remember any word by word statements or anything like that. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it would be cool to really have like a dream diary at some point. I also thought about doing that, but then it just didn't happen yet.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, for me, even with conversations or movies or something like that, I never remember which language I had a conversation in or which language I watched a movie in. I only remember the content. And I think it's the same with my dreams. So it's difficult for me to say. But most people in my position would say that they dream in English a lot.
Okay, yeah. But I mean, I guess it's also a good thing, because it really shows that you really have like adopted and soaked in English pretty much natively now. So you don't really think about using words and how to express certain things. So
yeah,
that is, I think, a cool thing. Yeah. So yeah, once again, thank you very much. Of course, also thanks to you guys out there for watching. You can find Feli's channel right here in the end card, linked and also linked down in the video description. Check out her channel; it's really worth it. And yeah, so well, until next time, I'd say, and have a nice day.
Tschüss.
All right, tschüss.